Hello, peoples.
How it is I, Martha Beck.
That's Martha Beck over there.
And Rowan the Gracious Badger.
That's me.
And we are here to do another gathering room with you guys. Did we do it last week? We did it on Saturday last week.
We tricked you.
We were traveling and traveling. And now we are home.
Yes.
And we have a topic. Yes. And the topic
You have a topic. I'm just sitting here.
Yes, this is true. Oh, Wendy's here and Karen and Donna.
Wendy has resumed her usual position, followed by Karen and Donna. Those guys are the first three.
You guys must just crouch by your computers all Sunday. You're doing a fabulous job.
Hi, Geordie from Melbourne.
There's our Melbourne contingent. From Melbourne.
Hey.
Yeah. Hi, Stephen. How you doing?
Oh, here they come. Everyone's here. We've got Nova Scotia.
Karen Kozara says correctly, I am first. You were first, Karen. We cannot deny it without fear of successful contradiction.
Well, my interface says otherwise, but I'll let you and Wendy duke it out.
Yeah.
And then Tucson. We was just there.
We were there in Tucson. And who else is there?
Kathy from Hawaii.
Halifax, Nova Scotia. We were just talking about Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Christy is here. Christy joined us for the Multiversity.
Yes, somebody's shining in from Denmark.
And oh yes, Monday's also. It's also Monday, of course.
Oh right, it's Monday there.
Hi, Daphne.
In Melbourne, it's Monday.
111 viewers.
Well, let's just start.
Like a good time to start.
Let's just start. I'm gonna do my little thing, and then we'll have the questions.
I'm gonna get out your way.
Okay.
So you can work the magic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So you guys, I've been writing this book, The Integrity Cleanse, and because of it, I have gone back and done a lot more research about social science things, and I'm very excited to talk about the research on conformity. Now, if you follow my work, you know that a lot of what I do and what my coaches do is to track suffering to its basis in our thoughts. So the idea is most of our pain does not come from events, but from our thoughts about events. You can have physical pain, that's clean pain. You can break your leg, that's clean pain, and you will suffer. But then if you spend months thinking that should not have happened to me, I'm a clumsy oaf to have done that, everything goes wrong for me, I'll never walk right again, whatever it is that you brew in your thoughts about the broken leg causes much, much more suffering. And if you can clear away the mental suffering, you've got very little actual pain. And we've talked about this a million times, but we can't say it too often. Because I promise you, this very day, I have suffered from thoughts that were not true, and I did not question them. I promise you. But here's the thing. Not all of the mental conditioning that causes suffering is in the form of a verbal thought. There's a tremendous amount of bias and information that we pick up before we can even talk, and we never actually put it in words. This comes from things like mimicry, which is present in brand new babies. I love making brand new babies stick out their tongues by sticking out my tongue at them. And there are beautiful pictures online of experimenters doing this with baby monkeys. The baby monkeys are like, they're trying so hard. The grown-up monkeys will not do it, but the baby monkeys will. So there's a biological mimicry in place right away for all primates and especially for humans. Then there's just natural conformity. For one thing, we have mirror neurons, so we kind of feel each other's feelings and behaviors. Like when you eat a banana, my brain lights up as though I'm eating a banana because of these mirror neurons in our head. So we, in some sense, are feeling what other people feel. But the thing I'm looking at most clearly, with most intensity right now is the unconscious conformity that we get with the people around us. So there are a number of different ways this happens. It's like most of us just conform to what we see the majority of people around us doing, saying, believing, approving of, disapproving of. And they've done these fascinating tests with group conformity where they take a bunch of people, and they put them in a room and they ask them to do a simple test, like which of these lines is longer. And 6 of the 7 people in the room are collaborating with the experimenter, and they all give the wrong answer, even though the right answer is dead obvious to anyone with eyes. In 75% of the cases, the naive subject, the one who can see the truth and is listening to everyone else give the wrong answer, will give at least one wrong answer to be with the majority. And like 37% of the people will agree with the majority all of the time. Nobody's telling them to do that. That's how our brains are designed to think. We do most of that to fit in, to belong, to not get kicked out. Then there's what's called informational conformity. And this is where if we think somebody knows better than we do, we'll just do whatever they say. And often they're just people standing near us shouting things in confident voices. And we go, oh, that person really seems to know what he's saying, so I will do that. There's one form of that when we get off a plane and we're going to we turn one way or the other to go to the terminal, and we follow the crowd because we think they have more information than we do. We assume that they know the airport better than we do if it's an unfamiliar airport. There are cases of whole groups of people going to really weird places because everyone in the group assumed that everyone else in the group knew what they were doing. And in fact, nobody knew what they were doing. There's also this sort of expert conformity where if we think somebody's an authority figure or an expert, we'll do anything. You may have heard of the Milgram experiments where a dude in a white coat stood there with a clipboard and had subjects push buttons that they thought were delivering electric shocks to people on the other side of a curtain. And the shocks were labeled like, this is painful, this is excruciating, this is potentially lethal. So they would ask the person behind the partition a question. The person behind the partition was collaborating and would give the wrong answer. Then the person in the lab coat would say, you have to shock the person. So the naive subject would press the button, and the actor on the other side of the screen would scream as if he was in pain. And then he'd give another wrong answer, and the experimenter would say, you have to shock him again. And most people would look at the experimenter and go, oh, I don't want to do this. And all the researchers said ever was the experiment requires that you continue. And a large percentage of people were willing to deliver extremely painful or lethal shocks, so they thought, just because some random stranger in a white coat said that. So that's informational conformity, and it's authority conformity. And between those things, most of us spend most of our lives doing things that we actually haven't thought through in words. We just see other people doing them, and then we mimic that. And we absorb whole value systems that way. It's like nobody had to teach you what every word in the English language means. You picked it up from context. No one had to teach you what your parents' value system was. You picked it up from context. There was a meth lab in the yard. There was, you just assumed that was okay. That is not a true example. But you absorbed your parents' values, and then maybe you had friends as a teenager and you were like, my parents' values suck, I'm gonna go with your values, but it was still conformity. All right, all of this just to say that it's fine to conform with the majority if the majority is doing something that is true for you, that is in your integrity, that is good for you as an essence, as a being. But remember that all cultures were made up by people who really don't know what the hell they're doing. I mean, these ancient traditions we have were made by people who didn't have access to technology, information, who thought that their illnesses were caused by demons in their souls or whatever. These are the people setting up a lot of the cultural norms that we now absorb without even thinking about it. So racial prejudice, gender biases, treating people, class issues, they're all just soaked in, and we don't actually think of them as words. We don't sit down one day and say, I will be racially prejudiced because my society is. We just suck it in through our skin. We don't even know it's there. If people say we're racist, we're like, no, I'm not. But if you take tests and they show you how you respond to different racial groups, sure enough, there's an unconscious bias in most of us. So that's not good. And when you look inside for what's not right, it doesn't pop up as a clear baked thought. It's just a general feeling of what is out they're what you kind of think. So I've been writing about when to notice that we're conforming and to stop doing it. And the time when we notice things are going wrong in a number of ways. We don't feel good is the first thing. We don't feel good in our moods. We're never really happy. We're never really at peace. We aren't physically healthy. We start to get a lot of sicknesses, or we're in multiple accidents, or we're just always getting hurt. We get addictions. We're trying to avoid our feelings. We start to have fractious relationships and we're not sure why. The key thing here is not sure why. When we know, like if somebody comes and says to you, your job is to clean the scullery and it's just because you were born that way, you might be in there cleaning the scullery and thinking, this is BS. I was not born for this. And it's a clear thought that you can question. But when you've just absorbed a group cultural norm, all you know is that you feel yucky. So how do you know when you're conforming in a way that is bad for you, that takes you out of your integrity? When these bad symptoms come and they are specifically connected in your mind to groups of people, other people. So Sartre said, l'enfer c'est les autres. Hell is other people. When you're constantly thinking, he was saying the inferno is other people, and that's what Dante says as well, which is what I've been writing about. So if you're thinking, why does everybody want me to be this way? Why does everyone want me to dress this way? Why do people insist that I act this way? How come our society doesn't let me do what I want? You'll start to generalize this sort of imposition of values on yourself. Like you are being forced to live in a certain way and it makes you angry. Sometimes this will specify with certain people. Why won't my mother let me feel good about myself? Well, your mother never sat you down. Most mothers never sit you down and say, don't feel good about yourself. It may just be that she's constantly harping about things that she values that you feel pressured to value. Or it may be that she holds herself to some kind of judgmental standard and she doesn't even try to direct it at you, but you inherit it. We sort of soaked it up through mimicry. So when you feel these bad things happening to you, addiction, illness, bad moods, and constantly feeling like other people are making this happen to you, sit down and write out what you think other people want you to do. Write it all down and get really specific. You want me to always do housework all day because I'm a woman, and you think that's all women are good for. You think that I should, pay more taxes because that's a better way to live. You think I should pay fewer taxes because our family doesn't live that way. We do tax loopholes. It could be anything, literally anything. But write down what you feel you're being forced to do. And then write down the reason it's wrong, the reason they are wrong. Now, here's the interesting thing. If you actually took a camera around your life and showed all the people that you think are trying to force you, most of them aren't trying to force you. Most of them have never said the things that you hear very loudly because we broadcast it with energy and behavior. But by making it words and writing it down, you allow yourself to see what you have unwittingly come to believe. And when you write down why it's wrong, you're breaking your conformity in the mind. And this is where a lot of my clients have gotten stuck, because I say, well, work with your thoughts. And they're like, there is no thought that tells me I'm, too stupid. It's just always there. I always feel that way. Ask yourself, who's making me feel that way? Write that down. Get angry at that person. Write down what they're making you do. And then write at them, here's why you're wrong. And here's what I want to believe. 99% of the time, those people don't even know. They're just going along. I don't know if you've ever had people say to you, you made me do this. I get this a lot, like at seminars, like people will be like, you forced me to tell you that to get up on stage with you and talk about my problems. And I'm like, I totally didn't. I remember going to a seminar where the leader of the seminar said, please, please, please do not stop taking your medication while you're here. And someone tweeted from that seminar, the leader of this seminar made me stop taking my medication while I was here. No, actually the leader had said exactly the opposite. But the cultural pressure from a bunch of basically yogi types to not take the medication was very strong in this one individual because of their conformity to previous cultural norms. I know I'm talking like a sociologist. I love it, but you don't, maybe don't. Anyway, that's the deal. Find where you're miserable. See where you think other people are making you do it. Write down where they're wrong. Write down why you're right. And then be yourself. And it doesn't matter how they react. Probably they won't react at all. Probably they're just representing a broader cultural pressure that is very real, that you have internalized, that you need to get rid of, but that doesn't have to turn into a big war between you and specific groups of people. Just free yourself from the conformity and go on to be a leader of people, because there is one kind of conformity I haven't told you about. That is when someone is so strong in their integrity that the majority will conform to them. And we see this in people like Nelson Mandela or Buddha or Jesus, people who were so clear and so nonconformist and so in their own truth that it creates an energy that actually makes majorities want to conform to them. So that's the kind of person we become when we stop conforming. And now I would like to answer some questions and invite the gracious Badger back to do the reading of the questions.
I'll be here any minute.
Hello.
Hey. All right, Karen has a question. She says, how do we depart from our culture norms of conforming? How do we assimilate to another culture?
You don't have to assimilate to another culture. When I did my PhD dissertation, I was looking at people who were wrestling with gender roles. And the people who broke out did not go to a feminist culture as it was then constituted or any other culture. They went to their pure sense of self. In a strange way, instead of looking around them, they looked up, up and in. Like there's a truth inside you that feels like peace. It feels like home. And if you're serving that part of yourself, that's when you become so powerful that a majority culture will actually conform with your values because they work. If you can get that kind of clarity, you give a gift to the whole world. I've got one hair that's standing up. It's really weird. Okay. Can we do another question?
That hair is not conforming. You should be rewarding that hair.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so Geordie, you kind of just touched on it. Geordie is asking what your thoughts are about the umbrella of patriarchal structures as an overall cultural conformity, and where are we within those structures?
Oh, that's one of the big daddies. Pun intended. Yeah, we have this whole hierarchical system that is based on power, wealth, and status having dominion over people with less power, wealth, and status. Usually the people with power, wealth, and status are the patriarchs, the older, stronger men, and that dominates everyone else in the culture, and it's racist as well. It's the big cultural monolith. Well, it's not a monolith. It's a big cultural massive norm that's been developing for at least 5,000 years. And I think we're at a place where it's destroying the world. And if people don't start non-conforming to it, things will not get better. They will get worse. But I think that's why we're seeing, for example, more women entering politics than ever before. It's breaking the patriarchal structure. It's why people of color have more rights than they used to in this culture, even though, of course, it's not even close to fair yet. It's why at least we have the concept of equality and fairness. And it's the people at the bottom of that power structure who are going to be able to say, this feels wrong to me. Then write down why it feels wrong and write what feels correct to you and start to live that. And I promise you, you'll find a new way. It won't be from anything around you. It will be from within you, and who knows, maybe above you in that metaphorical way. So yeah, we got to break it. And guess who's going to break it? You, me, her, not anyone else. We're it. We're the grown-ups. We have to do it.
We're the grown-ups. Love this. Anne says, how do we overcome bias of conformity when meeting others?
You know, I wouldn't push that too far because it's just a natural part of your biology. It's so interesting. When they do experiments where people mimic each other's facial expression and body movements, people who don't know the experiment is going on will judge people as more friendly if those people were imitating their facial expression and body movements. And if the experimenter does something really unusual, like really exaggerated face rubbing, the other person will start to do the same thing. And it's a way that people come together. By being aware that this is part of the machine of the monkey that we live in, then we know it's happening. And we can decide when it goes too far. Like everybody's laughing at jokes and we laugh along and then they tell a joke that's really offensive or wrong. We have a choice. Do we conform and laugh along and know, okay, this is me conforming to the majority so I won't get hurt? Or do we say, you know what, that's not funny. Please don't talk like that, and have everybody go into the uncomfortable silence. That's a decision to be made in your own integrity. You can also be silent and not say anything and refuse to participate passively. Every situation is different. You have to be in touch with your own truth to know in that moment which is the most honest, the most self-loving way to proceed. And if you do that consistently, that's what gives you so much power to sway other people's opinions when you're always in touch with your truth. That consistency makes you irresistible. Great question.
Yeah. And Daisy asks, what about when someone is a narcissist and is very subtle in their control?
Some narcissists are subtle, some are not. I'm not going to name any names. You can feel it even more as a galling, like, why am I being forced? And then you think, wait a second, they didn't do anything to force me, but why do I feel so forced? Because it's that nonverbal thing. People can do stuff with their body language, with their tone of voice, with what they don't say, with ways they don't meet your eyes or don't reward you with smiles or whatever it is. Or they can batter you with volume and belief and seem very emphatic. And the whole time, they know perfectly well they're getting you in a kind of trance of conformity. So when you feel angry at them, that's when you sit down and go, wait a second. This anger, this feeling of being forced is coming from somewhere. And as you go into your own truth, if they're deliberately manipulating you, you will realize it. You know that. But you've conformed to a society that says, now think nice thoughts about everybody and don't criticize. And I'm sure he didn't mean it. Maybe he did mean it. And you're going to know that he meant it. So let yourself know what you know. Yeah.
I'm going to paraphrase. A few people have said a version of the question, what about when the pressure to conform is coming from within?
It always comes from within, literally always. It comes from without, but without pressure from within, the pressure from without is just annoying or something you have to deal with the way you deal with the opposing team in a football game. The only kind of conformity that can actually change the way you act is inner. And you have absorbed it. And by making this instruction that I've given you is a way to find it. Because conformity that is soaked into us is invisible to us for the same reason that we can't see the color of our own eyes without a mirror. It's the way we see. When we've conformed to something, it bends our mind so that we see through that lens. And then, of course, we can't see the lens itself. But with a mirror, we can see. And the mirror in this case is the other people around us. And the mind will say, that person is making me uncomfortable. And that will enable you to start digging into why. What's the thing that person makes me do? And by unlocking that inside ourselves, that person may still want us to conform, but the internalization of the conformity will be undone and we will be free. Thank you for asking that question. That makes it clearer.
That's awesome. Lots of people breaking out and trying to deal with backlash. And this is one version of that. Kat asks, how do you deal with the conformists who want you to conform again after you've broken out? Sometimes they are very aggressive. Change back attack.
Yeah, you go back into the group and you're starting to non-conform. The others have two choices now. One is they can wake up to their own internalized conformity and say, maybe you're right, I don't know. Or maybe you're wrong, I don't agree with you, but that's okay. I have my opinion, you have yours. That's one option. The other option is that they will reject you completely. Now, here's the deal. If they reject you completely, that means that you were living in a social group that cannot stand your true self, a social group that makes you betray your true self. If you don't do things that get you rejected by that group, you will betray yourself completely and live in misery, away from your integrity. So if they're honest and open, they'll listen, they'll come with you. You might have discussions, but it'll be okay. If it's not okay, it was never okay. And you've got to get out. You've got to get out. And you do it by being true to yourself.
I love it. Donna says, what if breaking the conformity anger gives far more suffering than just the anger itself? I guess you could say suffering. Maybe she means breaking the suffering of breaking the conformity.
All right. Okay, so you break conformity and there's a big upheaval. Say you are, this is not, I'm just making this up. Say you're in a religion that doesn't work for you and you leave that religion and it creates a huge hullabaloo. And okay, so I did that. And I had people telling me, you have rocked the basis of my faith. You have caused me to suffer. And what I thought was, if you went inside yourself and knew I was wrong, I would cause you no suffering at all. The only reason that my non-conformity caused a big brouhaha is that the insides of other people were also conflicted. And when they bring that out, it looks as if it's caused a commotion. But the commotion was inside all along. It was inside everybody. It was inside the system. It was a poisonous system. And when you throw up, it's not pretty, but you get the poison out of the body. So there's a brief period often of instability and anger and hurt feelings and everything. And then you stop conforming and you're living in your truth. And I promise you the peace of that, the health inherent in that, the access to joy becomes a blessing to the whole world. And you can't have it. You can't make it. You can't be it as long as you're conforming to things that are inherently poisonous. That's the reason we have to stop conforming sometimes.
Yeah. And I got your clarification, Donna, and yeah, I think she's answered it. So Carol asks, doesn't non-conforming require courage, including the courage to stand in the silence and rejection that might follow, which follows from Donna's point?
Yep. But you know what else requires a different kind of courage? Living in hell. You know, I've been writing about Dante's Inferno, and here's the interesting thing. Nobody was stuck in the Inferno. If they were willing to say they were wrong, they could leave at any moment. But they're stuck because they won't change their minds. So I guess it takes courage to stay in hell, to keep living in a system that is horrifying. I mean, if you think about, for example, the Nazi regime in Germany, did it take courage for people to side with Hitler and do these horrible things? I guess. Did it take courage to say that's not true for me and leave? It took a lot of courage to say that's not true for me and leave. Guess what? If you're going to live in integrity, you will go outside the bounds of your culture, and it absolutely requires courage. And that's why we develop courage, and nobody's born with it. But courage is the only alternative to suffering, and suffering is unbearable, and courage is there to be developed. It's there to access. It just means of the heart. To be in your heart is to live in courage, your own heart, no one else's rules, no one else's doctrines, but what you feel most deeply is your own truth. To live that requires massive courage, and to do anything else is disastrous. Those are our options. My editor keeps telling me, or my agent keeps telling me, could you put that in a more gentle way? And I'm like, actually, no. It always boils down to that. But try it tomorrow. Do something a little courageous. Break a conformity, an aspect of conformity a little bit. Be brave. Stand up. Be peaceful. Be calm. But don't go along with what you've always gone along with that doesn't feel good to you. And feel the discomfort of that, and then how it settles into peace when you finally conform with your own heart.
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for joining us. And it's been a wonderful gathering room.
You guys are awesomest. We love you. It's so good to be back on Sunday evening.
Yes. It's wonderful.
Conforming with our usual standards.
Yes, quite right. Quite right, too. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. All right.
So thanks, guys.
Catch you
Love
next
you.
week.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.